General Keith Thara was the most decorated warrior in the Valaxian Empire's 5,000-year history. His azure scales bore the ritual scarification of 50 victorious campaigns, and his tactical brilliance had secured the Empire's dominance over 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. When he spoke at the Grand War Council, civilizations listened, which made his testimony about the humans all the more disturbing. "Honored generals," Keith Thara began, his voice carrying the weight of exhaustion that only came from witnessing the impossible. "I stand before you to formally recommend that humanity be classified as a priority alpha extinction threat." The assembled war leaders of a dozen species shifted uncomfortably. Humanity had been catalogued as a minor spacefaring species, barely 3 generations out of their home system. Their technology was primitive, their fleets small, their territorial claims laughably modest. Admiral Zixt of the hegemony interjected, "Surely you exaggerate. Our intelligence suggests the humans possess fewer than 200 military vessels across their entire space. They're barely more than raiders." Keith Thara's battle-scarred features hardened. "Admiral, 6 months ago, I would have agreed with you. Then I encountered them during the Kepler Uprising." The Kepler Uprising had been a minor territorial dispute, 17 colonies attempting to secede from Valaxian rule. Standard suppression protocols called for a single battle group to crush the rebellion within days. Keith Thara had been assigned to the operation not because it was difficult, but because the Empire wanted to send a message about the consequences of defying their authority. "The rebels had hired human mercenaries," Keith Thara continued. 3 ships. 3. Against my full battle fleet of 87 vessels and 12,000 elite troops. Admiral Zixt laughed. "Surely you're not suggesting 3 human ships posed a genuine threat to your forces?" "I'm suggesting they destroyed my fleet." The silence that followed was profound. General Keith Thara had never lost a battle, never even suffered significant casualties. His tactical genius was legendary across the galaxy. "The first human ship we encountered called itself the Undaunted," Keith Thara said, accessing his personal combat records. "A converted cargo hauler that our sensors classified as obsolete before we even achieved visual contact. It shouldn't have been able to threaten our smallest escort vessel." The holographic displays around the council chamber activated, showing the battle footage that had become required viewing for every major military academy in the galaxy. The human ship appeared to be fleeing, its energy signature weak, and its course erratic. "Standard interception pattern," Keith Thara narrated, as his fleet moved to surround the humans. The Undaunted appeared to be suffering engine failure. "We moved in for capture, expecting easy prisoners for interrogation." What happened next redefined everyone's understanding of human ingenuity. The Undaunted wasn't fleeing, it was positioning itself. When the Valaxian ships closed to optimal range, the human vessel began to change. Panels that had appeared to be hull damage suddenly revealed weapon ports. What had looked like leaking fuel turned out to be some kind of adaptive camouflage system. Most disturbing of all, the ship's obsolete reactor began outputting energy levels that should have been impossible for its size. The humans had retrofitted their cargo ship with weapons that violated several laws of physics, Keith Thara explained. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching them use our own tactics against us, with modifications we'd never considered. The Undaunted didn't just fight, it improvised. When Valaxian shields adapted to its energy weapons, the humans switched to kinetic projectiles. When point defense systems began intercepting those, they started using the projectiles to deliver sophisticated viruses that turned the Valaxian ship's own systems against them. "They weaponized our communication array," Keith Thara said, his voice hollow with remembered disbelief. "Somehow turned our fleet coordination protocols into attack vectors. Ships started firing on each other because their targeting systems had been compromised by signals that looked like standard tactical data. But the Undaunted was only the beginning. The second human vessel appeared when we thought we had the situation contained, Kethara continued. The Revenge of Sisyphus, a name that means nothing to us, but apparently holds significance for humans. It emerged from behind one of Kepler's moons, moving at speeds that should have torn any ship apart. The Revenge had solved the problem of high-velocity combat in a way that no other species had considered. It didn't slow down. Instead of decelerating to fighting speed, the human ship had weaponized its own momentum, using relativistic physics to turn itself into a guided projectile that could deliver devastating attacks while remaining nearly impossible to target. They flew through my formation at 0.7 light speed, Kethara said, firing weapons that had been designed to function at relativistic velocities. Half my fleet was destroyed in the first pass, and the ship was past our defense perimeter before our sensors even registered the attack. The third human ship was somehow worse than the first two. The learning experience, Kethara said, and several council members winced at the name's implications. This vessel didn't attack immediately. Instead, it observed. For 6 hours, it recorded how we responded to the other two ships, analyzed our formations, studied our weapons, and somehow reverse-engineered our tactical doctrine in real time. When the learning experience finally engaged, it fought like it had been designed specifically to counter Valaxian military doctrine. Every strategy Kethara deployed was anticipated and neutralized. Every weapon system his fleet possessed was met with a perfect countermeasure. The human ship seemed to know what his forces would do before they did it themselves. The battle lasted 11 hours, Kethara concluded. When it ended, I had 17 ships left out of 87, and the rebels had successfully evacuated every colonist who wanted to leave. The humans didn't even demand payment. They said they'd been happy to help with the learning experience. The council chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. 3 human ships had defeated one of the Empire's most experienced generals using nothing but ingenuity, adaptability, and what appeared to be an almost supernatural ability to turn any situation to their advantage. Honored generals, Kethara said, I have fought the crystalline hegemony, the void seekers, and the machine collective. I have studied warfare for 3 centuries and commanded fleets for half that time. And I tell you this, humanity is not just another spacefaring species. They are what happens when evolution produces a species that treats the impossible as merely another engineering problem. Admiral Zick's question was barely a whisper. What do you recommend? Avoid them entirely, Kethara replied, and pray to whatever gods you honor that they never consider us a threat. The Grand War Council adjourned with unprecedented unanimity. Within days, every major power in the galaxy had received classified briefings about the Kepler incident. Trade routes were quietly rerouted to avoid human space. First contact protocols were updated to emphasize diplomatic solutions over military ones. And throughout the galaxy, a new understanding emerged. Humanity was not to be underestimated, provoked, or threatened. Because if 3 human ships could destroy the Empire's best general, no one wanted to discover what humanity could accomplish when they were truly motivated.